everybody, and welcome back to the Blossom Review. How are you? Today we're talking about SBS's latest sports drama, or sports dramedy, I guess, The Winning Try, which came to a close last Saturday. Before we start, let me warn you that this video contains some spoilers, okay? So everybody ready? Okay, let's go. So, The Winning Try tells the story of Kye-sang, played by Kye-sang, a former rugby superstar whose career has fallen apart after a doping scandal. He spends the next 3 years away from sports, away from his loved ones, until the principal of Hanyang High, the school he attended himself when he was a teenager, invites him to coach its rugby team. With an endless streak of losses and no more than 7 students, the team is at risk of disappearing altogether. Kye-sang then accepts the challenge, promising to transform the Hanyang High rugby team into the next National Sports Festival champions. The Winning Try is an inspiring story about resilience, dedication, and teamwork that succeeds thanks to its passionate protagonist and the unbreakable bond that he develops with his students. While the narrative gets a bit lost in its subplot of political intrigue, this is the perfect example of a story that has such a strong emotional resonance that its flaws become background noise in the face of its character's triumph. So the narrative of The Winning Try unravels through 2 different layers, let's say. The first and the most important one is the sports drama one, in which Kye-sang guides us through a classic, a typical underdog story. The Winning Try follows the underdog playbook to a T. First, Kye-sang is introduced to the Hanyang High rugby team, whose captain, Yoon Sung-jung, wonderfully played by Kim Yo-ham, refuses to accept his authority. After all, how could a juicer ever help them improve? The boys like each other, but their relationship is still very shallow and fragile. Then we realize how terrible they are as players. Their previous coach abandoned them, they haven't won anything for years, some of them seem to care about other interests more than rugby. They practice without really knowing what they are doing. So Kye-sang sets them a very clear goal. They will win the next National Sports Festival. Next, one of their players transfers to a bigger, better school. So Kye-sang is forced to bring in a hidden gem, a wild card, Moon-eung, played by Kim Dam, a complete rookie who seems to have been born for the game. Overcoming all sorts of hurdles, Kye-sang not only sharpens their rugby skills, but also encourages them to bond. Under Kye-sang's guidance, the Hanyang High rugby team finally becomes family. Finally, we get to the big phenomenal climax. The Hanyang High rugby team reaches the finals of the Nationals, and against all odds, they become a miracle, which is the original title of the show. In Korean, the show is entitled Try, We Become Miracles. You can apply this structure to all underdog stories that you know, so there is nothing revolutionary to The Winning Try, but it still works, and the reason is quite simple. We are bound to respond to these characters' struggles, because we all know what it's like to lose, we all know what it's like to struggle, we all know what it's like when other people don't believe in our potential, what it's like when we feel cornered and abandoned and hopeless. What makes The Winning Try special is the kindness, perseverance, and selflessness of our protagonist, played with undeniable charisma and superb mischief by Kye-sang. Kye-sang is incredibly talented, and he honestly believes in his rugby team. Kye-sang illustrates the role of a mentor with grace and compassion. He fosters hope, self-confidence, and teamwork among his students. He teaches them to trust him, each other, and their own selves. But most importantly, Garam invites his students to reconceive the main goal of a sport. Is a sport only about winning? Not at all is what Garam teaches them. Playing a sport is all about getting to know who you are, what you want to achieve, and growing into a better version of yourself. It's about respect for the sport itself and for your fellow players. It's about honesty and effort and dedication. Garam believes in the value of losing with decency, of learning from your losses, and of moving forward with your head held high. Towards the end of the winning try, the Hanyang rugby team aren't just better players. They are more confident, more hopeful, and more self-aware. They can stand up for what they believe with dignity and honor. They rely on each other wholeheartedly, and they know that they can overcome any hurdle together. The last episode celebrates this growth and newfound union using with elegance a rugby technique to visually illustrate their synergy and togetherness. They win their last game, so they win the finals of the nationals using a mole. Guys, a mole is a rugby technique. Don't ask me for details. I don't know much about rugby, but a mole is a technique in which the whole team has to work together has to work as one in order to achieve their goal, or in this case, a try, right? So beyond the good old montage, this final game sequence is particularly moving as it symbolizes their entire journey and leads them to the well-earned result of their dedication. The winning try bustles with life, not because of its comical sequences, but because of the intense chemistry and sincere care that marks the dynamics between Garam and his students. Their relationship shines bright as the show's greatest quality and the main reason why we naturally fall in love with these characters. Their journey together establishes a strong emotional resonance, which is very typical of underdog stories, that provides us with an incredibly cathartic finale. I cried my eyes out during the last game, guys. I honestly did. I was thinking, like, this is the only scenario in which I would probably cry during a rugby game, but that's fine. Now, even if there is much about their miracle that isn't particularly realistic, it is their hope and resilience that stay with us at the end. So this sports drama layer is mostly a character-driven story. What does that mean? It means that we invest in our characters' personal journeys. We root for them to grow and to become the athletes that they want to be. But clashing with this main storyline, the winning try tries to develop a second layer, let's say, that is mostly plot-driven, that is, it is focused on the plot. This second layer tries to blend political intrigue, melodrama, and just a dash of mahjong with very little success. As if our underdog story couldn't provide enough drama and engagement, the winning try counts on a subplot in which the vice principal and the shooting team coach want to destroy the rugby team. For what reason? Well, apparently because the shooting team wants to steal their budget and the vice principal wants to ensure that he will take over the principal chair once the current principal retires. So yeah, that's the idea. This storyline is developed with the finesse of a bull in a china shop, really. The antagonists are written to be inconsistent and shallow, turning them into petty, exaggerated stereotypes that only seem to steal screen time from the characters that really matter. The events in this storyline become so outrageous that it becomes difficult for us to even invest in this side of the story. The narrative piles up conflicts and problems up until the very last episode, leaving very little time for proper and logical resolution. Characters who barely had half a dozen lines in the show's first 10 or 11 episodes suddenly turn out to be the key to convincing the bad guys of the errors of their ways in episode 11 and 12. The story often doesn't respect its own rules, really stretching the limits of what is really believable. Of course, everything falls into place eventually, and the bad guys are brought to justice, but only thanks to a series of very simplistic and almost miraculous solutions. That means that the narrative of the winning try ends up with two incompatible storylines. But considering that the main one is so strong and emotionally resonant, the show manages to offer a compelling experience nonetheless. So the final question is, should you watch The Winning Try? Bursting with life and energy, The Winning Try gives us a lovable cast of charismatic, persistent characters that we can't help but root for. Finding its heart in Jugaram's passion for rugby and his ability to foster trust, hope, and togetherness in his students, The Winning Try reminds us of the obstacles that block our own journeys and the determination we need to overcome them. A catchy theme song, a talented cast, and a classic and effective underdog story keep us coming back as we observe a group of hardworking kids chase their dreams. Far from flawless, The Winning Try might be predictable and fairly cliché at times, but it makes for an excellent watch if you're looking for a series that can fill your soul with optimism and enthusiasm. The Winning Try is available on Netflix. Quick reminder that this review is also on the Blossom Review, but on the Blossom Review, this review is a little bit longer. We talk about the development of E.G., the female protagonist of The Winning Try. We talk about the technical side a little bit, so I'll leave a link in the description if you guys want to check it out. Over on Substack this week, we reviewed Netflix's Love Untangled. I'll also leave a link in the description if you guys want to give it a read. Guys, thank you so very much for being here. I really hope that you like this video and you subscribe so I can see you here every week for a new review. Take very good care of yourself, and I'll see you very soon. Have a lovely day today. Big kiss. Bye! This review was created in memory of Song Young Kyu, who we lost last month. May he rest in peace.